Welcome to the Useful Podcast. I'm your host, Gokul, and today's guest spent more than 20 years building technology partners, scaled the company into 25 countries, and led AI transformation in Bell Canada. And then he left it all to build something new. In under a year, NeighbourDrop has over 30,000 users and more than 12,000 fulfillments. Sunill Kumaar. So I guess I'll just start off. I wanted to start at the very beginning, or when I say the very beginning, how sociology is a really interesting degree to start with.
hmm
As someone growing up, how did you even know you wanted to do sociology, or how did you even get into that world?
Interesting question. Yeah, so I love social aspect of life. Yeah, I wanted to learn more. That's the reason I chose to. And also, it was not very clear, what you actually want to do in life, right? So, and this is something an interesting subject to study. So, I picked up that and started doing that, and love reading a lot of books related to that. So, when I got an interest of doing sociology.
Okay, and was that something like what did your family think?
Yeah, my dad was in an army, and he was, yeah. So I have a sibling, I have a sister, and yeah, nothing related to family. This is more of an interest. Family always wanted me to pursue something. Typically, growing up Indian, household, and they wanted me to pick up something, a medical degree or an engineering degree, and things like that. But yeah, this was my interest, and yeah, to be honest, it was not exactly an interest in pursuing a degree. It is more from a interest perspective I picked up. I never
Like a
thought
pursuit of
what
knowledge?
career or what growth it'll give, nothing. I just picked up.
Yeah, was this more like a pursuit of knowledge?
Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess the reason I asked that was because one of the most interesting things I found was your whole product. Or now you've built a company whose entire thesis is basically making human movement visible, which is basically like applied sociology.
Yeah.
And is that a coincidence, or did you just is that how you thought of it? And do you think the degree and the way you thought up and growing up and yeah, curious how this connection happened?
No, it was absolutely a coincidence because my career was more into product management, marketing, and stuff, right? So, in the telecom world, into IT, software, then I've been part of a software firm as a CEO, and yeah, nothing related to what I studied, but it's more a coincidence.
Okay. I guess I'm curious. Did sociology teach you anything about how groups behave that you're applying right now?
I think we have evolved beyond that, right? Today's this generation, previous generation, when you talk, unless you talk to customers, you don't understand exactly, right? So we assume
Yeah.
things and build something, then you interact with the customer early. It's always good to interact early and fail and try to iterate and do something. So we always did that, right? So early users, we interacted with them, we kind of took feedback, and based on that we learned a lot, right? So based on the feedback we evolved. Yeah, that's what we did for the product for NeighbourDrop.
So, I mean, then I'm curious. Did your MBA change how you viewed? Do you think your MBA changed how you viewed the business side of everything?
Not really. I think more I would say, everything is related to what you gain by talking to people or practically working, interaction with networking. All this has a good impact on you than a typical degree or a master's getting into. Of course, those days for a work or a job it would have helped, but not really to build something, right? So that's nothing to do with a degree, right? So I've seen part of a lot of co-op program, like a lot of kids, not even been to college or just starting off. They want to continue, but they want to build something. You have a big vision, right? So typically, it's not related to any degree, right? So, and we don't even know how it's going to evolve, the degree aspect going forward, the AI era and things like that. So people may not need a degree; they can learn everything on their own time.
Yeah.
It's all about what you're passionate about, right? So
Okay, so I guess that makes sense. Then, Curious about your first company, or I guess the first time you scaled a company. I think it was Symbi
Yeah, I think
Symbiotic.
symbiotic. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. What do you think that experience really taught you? You were there for around 10 years, right?
Yeah, almost, yeah, 10 years. Like, yeah, starting on scratch when, things are not, you've seen everything. You wear many hats, like, being a CEO, it's not like, you are a CEO doing CEO stuff, right? You do project management, program management, talking to customers and everything, right? So it gave me quite a bit of experience and things in my life to build another company. And yeah, it also taught me, like, yeah, so never give up. Like, there's always till you give up, you're not failed at all, right? So that's something I learned by doing that. And they been a great opportunity to interact with a lot of people, build new products, something we try, it fails, so you come up with new ideas, build something new. And scaling a company from $50,000 to a 10 million ARR is not an easy job. So that's also gave me, think differently and keeping resources, keeping the cost under control and expand slowly to different geographies instead of spilling across. Yeah, that's also something I've learned.
What do you think I mean, you operated in 25 different countries at one point.
Yeah.
How does managing that, like, I mean, you've just talked about scaling properly, and how do you get to managing 25 different geographies? How does that even scale into your
Yeah,
decision
start
making?
one at a time, right? So we would always approach with what is the best performing market, then grow slowly where you think, like, you can always pray and look for more opportunities, but something get finalized or get a contract established in the market, get local support resources, set up organization, local organization to support that, people to support that, and grow from there. That's what we have done, right? So once that is established, then you have something to showcase to other companies or other market, right? So this is something we have done in this market, so allow us to do something with your market, right? So that's the approach we have taken instead of going parallelly to many, many countries.
That makes sense. And then I guess something I was kind of curious about. Someone who once worked for you said you quadrupled revenues and you were a superhuman. As someone, I guess you're a leader in that aspect, but what kind of leader do you even try to be to get that kind of reaction from someone who worked for you?
I kind of understand people pretty well, right? So I try to be in their shoes and think more of a servant leadership than authoritarian. I never try to be that, and give flexibility, empower people, support them. The same, like, instead of being a manager, be a leader, and show them the path and allow them to try and fail. That's just what I do always with the previous organization as well as the current organization. So people fail early. It's always good to, correct themselves and progress well when they fail early, right? So, yeah, so remove that fear from the people you manage, right? So that's something we should always do as a leader, right? So if they fear, they will not try anything new because they'll always be afraid. So this is some kind of my style of leadership I follow. Yeah, so yeah, may not be the perfect one, but this is working for me, so I just follow that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's gotten you this far. And then how does that help you in how have you looked at that with Bell? I think Bell is a whole different equation because it's a massive
Yeah,
corporation. You don't really. Yeah, how does
yeah, it's
that.
all about the managing both ways, right? One, you have a team to manage, then you have people you need to manage, whether you don't have an authority, right? So building that relationship when it comes to program product management, some of the team members you don't have direct control or authority, but why will they work for you? Why will they listen to you, right? So we always ask this question. So then you have to start building the relationship. There's two ways to look at. One, work with them, collaborate with them, or complain to their bosses saying that he's not cooperating. So I would rather look at collaborating with them and building a good relationship. So they're always there to support you, right? So that approach always worked for me.
That makes sense. And then I guess this last December you decided to quit. and work on NeighbourDrop full time.
Yeah.
And I guess not just NeighbourDrop. You have, would this the other one be the holding company for NeighbourDrop?
Yeah, that's a holding company. Future Nexus Lab is a holding company. The whole idea of creating Future Nexus Lab, when we never had this Neighbor Drop idea, was to support more startup because I, along with my some other co-founder, thought like we can create a studio kind of a thing and support more startup.
Yeah.
People who don't have technical founders, we can build stuff for them, right? So then suddenly this idea of Neighbor Drop came in, and we said, okay, let's build our own stuff, right? So put complete focus on NeighborDrop.
Okay.
And I've been doing on weekends and some stuff like my co-founders been spending some time during weekends, and they were building parallelly to prototype and all that. And once we decided, we put this into few users, like 200 users, like our cohort users. So that's when we decided, okay, we need to be full time and focus on this.
That makes sense. And then, I mean, what was that decision like for you though? Because I guess a lot of the people who decide to quit a job or decide to do this, they're usually earlier on in their career. As someone who's later on in their career, you've had a business before, but was that decision easy, or was it just more, do you have things that you have to worry about?
Yeah, yes and no, because you coming out of from an established job and getting into something from a scratch, so there's always a fear of failure. But I always look at failure as something like you're going to learn something. Yeah, end of the day, either this is going to succeed or we learn something and come out and do something else in life. But there's always an opportunity, right? So experience compared to youngsters, like people always take, there are many years, right? But I think age is not a factor in today's world, right? So today I happen to meet somebody who's in their 60s and did a startup, and he's doing fundraising, he's done multiple startup in the past. So yeah, so this is always there. If you don't have enough money and savings to support you, there'll always be a fear. But yeah, my family, my wife, been pretty supportive in that aspect, and it's been great so far, good. And even if today we've grown to a pretty good numbers, but in the other case also, like it would have been like we'd have found another different ways to look at how we can progress in life, right? So if it fails, yeah, it's a challenge. Like many people, not
Yeah.
everybody is like wanting to take that risk. It's a risk, right? So it doesn't have to be every startup has to succeed. But yeah, less than 0.5% actually succeed. But yeah, so I've taken that risk actually.
I think, I mean, even the studio model, it helps you pivot, and like if one doesn't work, you have a way to keep it
Yeah,
alive in a
absolutely.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, and now let's talk about NeighborDrop. I'm really curious, did you design it, or did you think about this is what the product was going to be? What was the first thing you drew on the board for what NeighborDrop looked like?
So it all started during COVID, right? So when I looked at people who's not very familiar with me, like calling me and saying like can I drop something groceries for you or something because I got COVID and I cannot step out as per government laws and all that those days. So people were ready to come and drop stuff. Then after COVID, then I'm a avid user for many of the apps like Uber Eats and Instacart and all that. So whenever you open this app in multiple phones, I always looked at different algorithm, different pricing. Two different phones. iPhone has a different one. Android has a different pricing. And you would try to order a sandwich for $8 or $10. You end up paying $25, including search pricing and all that. Then I thought, okay, there could be something else we can do about it, right? So why it's rising cost, like why it has to be everything super expensive? Because people have to come very far, pick up your stuff and come. There's a transportation, there's a courier charge and all that, right? So then I looked at like, is a better way. Whenever I look outside, I see like, most of the people are driving all alone, right? So one single man driving or one driving a car, right? So a lot of traffic, a lot of movement happening in the city. So I thought, why not connect these people with somebody who needs something? So then I interviewed about 200 people across US, Canada and asked a very simple question related to this. What's the biggest pain? People all talking about there's no community connect. People said like rising costs. then I presented this idea. People said, like, all 200 told me, like, wow, this is great. Why don't you build it? So that's when we said, okay, let's do a prototype and see, like, whether it's something people want to do it, right? So nothing has changed. Connecting helper, requester, wanting something, nothing has changed from the perspective of the product construct. But yeah, we've improved a lot based on the feedback from consumers. But yeah, that's the initial product, and today's product is same. But our thesis has changed a bit. It was more from a community perspective. It is more today talking about, like, in a moment is a supply, right? So yeah, that's only change which has come into the product.
Then who are your first users and how did you get them?
So our first users were, like, not a commercial one, pilot users. I found through my common connections and friends and different in US and Canada through my working with Power Bell and different companies. Through them, I found them. Yeah, that's when I spoke to them, and they all said it's great. So those were my pilot users, and some of my co-founders also found their friends and families or people living in US and Canada. Those were the pilot users. Commercial users came in. We started hosting this in some of the videos in community pages and all that. So those came looking at those and asked several questions like, no, this is great. When is Android coming? Those days, like, we had only iOS app. So early users all came from primarily downtown Toronto through some of our videos they saw.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, and then there's something you've written. You said that nobody asked for coordination. It just started. You build a simple marketplace, post a trip, post a request, and match them. And then in dense neighborhoods, people started doing things you never designed. So kind of curious about that story.
So today, there are a lot of, other than Uber, Instacart, DoorDash, there are a lot of coordination happening within the community, within condos, within small group, right? They all use WhatsApp group and text message and Facebook messengers and all that, or Instagram messengers, right? So there is not a single platform available where people can seamlessly coordinate and trust each other, right? So that's how we came with an idea saying, it's a very simple app, like, single app. There's no driver, there's no category of driver and requester, right? One app. Today you can be a requester, tomorrow Google, you can be helping me instead of you requesting, right? Because you're heading to Costco, you want to buy something for me, and it can offset some costs. It's all started with a simple thesis of that.
That makes a lot of sense. It's really nice. So kind of curious how you noticed this.
Yeah, so as I said, like, COVID was a great time to notice, like, once people start
Or I
coordinating when
meant,
you're heading.
sorry, I meant notice the the density, I guess, where it makes the difference.
So density, we noticed, like, people in 2026, had I come with this idea probably in 2021, the chance of being successful, yeah, kind of doubtful because a lot of platforms were subsidizing. Yeah, you look at Uber Eats, Instacart, everybody was like, with the subsidized pricing, they were trying to onboard customers. And today, kind of like, everybody wants profit, right? So that's a kind of a time I looked at density. I said this can work anywhere there's enough density, right? All our cities like Toronto to everywhere you look at, like, it's a dense place. That's where you can look at, people having to connect with each other and get stuff done instead of relying on those platforms, right? So, and yeah, so sorry, your question was more related to density or
Kind of curious because I guess the way it sounded to me, it seemed like you kind of had the idea, but you've also noticed that people were also doing this on their own, and especially
exactly.
dense neighborhoods and areas. So, kind of curious how you noticed and picked up on that and how that added to your product.
I used to see, like, people creating most of the condos live and all that. People create their Facebook pages, groups, and WhatsApp group. And people ask me, like, you want me to be added on the group? I said, what do you do there? I said, share stuff? Or I said, like, when we're going out somewhere, somebody can help each other. Then I was doing a little bit of research on, like, whether these things exist. And a lot of my friends and people I connected with, they said, like, a lot of people things exist, like, even for ride, like, people create a group and
Yeah.
say like, I'm heading today to my workplace, and I'm going on a Friday, so you want to come along and all that. So offline they offer something. Some don't want to take money. Some try to offer something. So there's no reliable way to look at a platform where people can connect and share stuff or share ride or get groceries or anything. So that's where we came with this idea.
So yeah, I guess you've mentioned this that you're not really competing or trying to compete with Instacart or DoorDash or Uber Eats. For that matter, you're
Yeah,
more so competing with the default state of not knowing what's available to you, not knowing what's going on in your community.
yeah.
Why do you see it that way and not versus like competing versus the bigger? What do you think that reframing does?
So my reframing is we're not competing because there's enough and more supply available across every city, because when you look at millions of people are traveling, right? So they are not couriers, they're not drivers, right? So they are heading somewhere, right? So there is a enough and more demand, there, because most of the platforms are becoming super expensive and people want more reliable stuff. I don't want to wait somebody to come from 10 miles away. Like, someone in my community is anyway heading to my nearby store or a pharmacy, he can or she can pick up stuff for me, right? So this market already exists. And today it's very unorganized. Many people even they open those platforms or those what do you call apps. They hesitate to book something or request something because it's cost is a bigger factor, right? So then they try to walk to the store and pick up stuff, right? So, but still, why I said like, I'm not competing with these guys because their theory or thesis are completely different, because they are trying to dispatch somebody when you need something, right? So they have tie up the stores. We don't have tie up with any stores. So when Gokul is heading somewhere, I'm requesting something. Can you get something for me? If Gokul is going and you belong to my community within 300 meters, it makes absolutely sense for people. Then you asking to create a new trip and congest our city and do things like that, right?
So I guess that's why you think more Airbnb style, where it's more like
Yeah, so
you're
Airbnb, when we
showcasing.
looked
Yeah.
at like looked at and said, okay, there are enough and more bedrooms available, right? So what is the best way to utilize that and get some earning for the people who own those bedrooms, right? There's enough and more supply there, right? So they leverage the same thing. They never try to build hotels or anything, right? So we also not trying to bring more cars to the street or bring more drivers or anything. We're leveraging what's available in the market, right? So that's moment as a supply. That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay. Then do you think it's? I mean, it sounds like a pretty new category. How do you find? Do you find it like, hard describing it to people?
To people, it's much easier because when you say like, ask one of your neighbors to help you, people ask, is it real? Can they do it? And when they see those videos, like, they can really relate to what's missing in most of the community. Many of the community believe in that the connection between the community today is missing, right? They don't even
Yeah.
talk to each other, right? So yeah, they can relate to that, and a lot of my users said like, they found a lot of friends through this app because they never knew they lived in the same building or same community. They could connect with people and things like that, right? So they can relate. As a consumer, they're able to relate. And the question was more some of the courier guys, part of a Uber Eats or the other platform, wanting to come and join for earnings. I'm not restricting them because as far as you belong to community and you're serving somebody within your 1 kilometer, I have no way to restrict anybody. It's fine, right? So yeah, for them, like, how much I can earn and how will I earn more and stuff like, and there you need more explanation. But when you see something like this in a community and you want to get something done, and people can really relate to it, right? So yeah, that is pretty easy
Yeah.
for people.
That sounds pretty relatable. I'm curious how hard this is on the software side of this, like the figuring the tracking the movement, figuring out like, oh, they're
Yeah.
yeah. Curious how you guys thought of that.
Yeah, it's on a marketplace where people list and somebody come and open the app and search for things like that, right? So instantly it matches with you. You post your trip, you're going to say Costco, and instantly it get notified to people within your community of 100 meter first, then it'll switch to 500 meters. If there is not enough found, it'll go up to 1000 meters notifications and stuff like that, right? So and somebody should be able to tap within the notification to accept that request or ask for help or things like that. Yeah, it's quite a bit of back-end AI and AI ML algorithms and all that we have used, matching algorithms and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of because few things are not very clear, right? We don't know the cost of the product. We need to take an estimate. We need to do a pre-authorization. We are not connected to any store. Inventories are not available with us, so it becomes a little bit of challenging initially to build this. But yeah, now we come to a stage where we got a lot of feedback to what exactly need to build and show the customer based on the user feedback.
Yeah, actually, kind of curious how the payment works then. If let's just say I'm buying something for you from Costco, would you pay me in
Yeah.
person or do you pay me through the app?
So if I'm asking something from you, like, my credit card gets pre-authorized and you go and buy
Okay.
using your credit card and cash and you come and give it back to me. The moment you give it back to me and I say, okay, I receive the product and you can withdraw the money to your bank account. Whatever money you have spent plus your helper fee, you can instantly withdraw to your bank account.
Okay, that makes sense. Then I guess the metric that I'm curious about, and the metric I guess you're chasing as well. I guess it's a two-sided question. How many users do you have, and what do you think is the actual valuable number for instead of because I know you mentioned you don't care about the users, or there's another metric you're chasing. So curious, why those metrics?
Yeah, so we got about close to about 30,000 users, but the metrics we're chasing is like, how many transacting people are there, right? So that matters a lot. How many people are actually putting a request or trips, right? So that's like, and what percentage of that people's trip or request get completed. I got 83% fulfillment rate, which is a great number for a startup like us. And other metrics we look at is like, what percentage of people come and reuse. We got about 60% repeat usage, and people are regularly transacting, and about 70% of people are both requesters and helpers. Which means today Google is a helper. You're going to Walmart, you're picking up stuff. Tomorrow you don't want to step out, you're at home, you want to request something, and I might be one picking up for you, right? So one single platform used for dual purpose.
That makes sense. And then what does I guess curious about what the how you manage trust in this whole equation because you're giving your address, you're giving information about people, and it's basically like it's community based trust. But how do you deal with that on the app side of things? There's things that I don't know. I don't know if you guys do prescriptions yet. There might be different types of. I mean, it's favor
Yeah.
based economy, right? It could be whatever favor.
Yeah, so yeah, good question. In fact, like, a lot of our early users also ask this question, but yeah, so we start with a mobile number. That's a phone number we take, and we ask you to key in the OTP. That's the first check we do. We don't allow anybody to sign up using Gmail or any email accounts. So it's the phone number is validated. Second, we will ask them to enter the address, the home address, and we also do a geolocation check, like, where the address belongs to from your home location. That's another check we do. Also, there's a ID verification, which is again voluntary. We got about 35% people did an ID verification themselves voluntarily. And as a requester, you put a key in your bank account, I mean, sorry, your credit card information, which is again another validation that, this person is valid. And as a helper, you always put in your bank account. And when you request something, or I am helping, I'm a helper, posted something, and we become a match, you will be able to see before match how far I belong, right? So 300 meters from your home destination, or 400 meters from your home, right? So that kind of gives kind of a confidence and trust. Okay, this man is not somebody coming 20 miles away, right? He belongs to my place, right? So how do we make sure that we constantly check the location and ensure that that this is not something faking. It is something actually belongs to that location, right? So these are the checks we do, and once we do proper matching, you accepted my request, we both can see each other's address. Unlike courier, the courier guy can see your address, but he cannot, you cannot see his address where he belongs, right? Only way you can contact or make any cases like, Uber or Instacart, right? In this scenario, like both of us can see each other's address, right? So, because it's fair to share the address because once you make a contact and accepted your request, because it also shows where you belong, right? It may be like, 200 meters away that person belongs, right? So that also brings kind of a trust.
That makes sense. But still curious about the other aspect of trust, because I guess there's a post aspect as well. Because once you know where someone lives, I think, I guess shouldn't there is there a way that you deal with post safety as well, or how does that work?
Safety in the sense like, yeah, so any violation, because we are a facilitator, right? So we connecting
Yeah.
two people, right? So like any we've gone much ahead beyond a Facebook marketplace or anything. We are saying, okay, we check your phone number, we check your proximity, we have your credit card information on file and this thing. So anytime any authorities want anything, we can share those information, but mostly this is a trust building within the community, right? So
Yeah.
uh, I'm not saying 100% there'll not be even a single element of untrusty people, but we are not seeing anything today because people can decide looking at their profile, their rating and stuff, right? Whether they need to accept or, ask for help or anything. And all those information, unverified profile, probably some people may not like it, so they decline it and they say, I don't want to go with this guy because it's unverified, right? So, yeah, all those informations are available, so people are trusting because it's more today it's evolving on basis of like the geofence like 1 kilometer clusters. So yeah, that's how it's building trust, right? So and tomorrow people are going to use this for anything else like I have your address. What can you do with that? I don't think
It's
anything
true.
you can do with like mostly it's like not exact address condo, and when they chat they share those information, right? So and all this information, even the courier guys have, right? So once the delivery is done, your contract with
Yeah.
Uber Eats or anything is over, right? So after that, 2 days later, you come to your house, you can't do anything, right?
Yeah, that's true. Then, do you think people feel trust a neighbor more than they trust, or trust a neighbor that they don't know more than an actual stranger?
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's what we're hearing from more and more users, right? So they trust the moment they see, like, yeah, 200 meters before accepting or requesting this person belongs to, say, 200 meters, that's kind of a give a bit of confidence than I don't know who's coming. The only way I can trust is like, yeah, anything goes wrong, I can call Uber or report it, right? So this is like, building the community trust.
That makes sense. And then, curious about this, because the business is based on neighbors helping neighbors. So it's almost like a favor economy. Kind of curious how you view money, or adding just money into the mix. How does that affect the equation?
Money into what? Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Like the helper fee, the requester. I think there's a little bit of monetization or incentivization added in. How do you think that affects the behavior or yeah,
So today it's like, it was just, a few weeks ago, it was one-on-one relation, right? One request, one helper can accept only one request, right? So we kind of building like, I'm heading to Walmart or a Costco, I can accept from five people, right? So even if it's $2 or $3 a requester is paying, together for five, it makes quite a bit of money and it can offset a lot of costs. Like, few of my grocery item can come free of cost, right? So I'm not going and delivering far. Probably I'm coming back to the same building or I just in within 200, 300 or max 1 kilometer radius, I'm going to give this back to somebody, right? So it becomes a stop. So they are earning, and this is not a medium to earn money. They are thinking just like, can I offset some cost, right? So there's a huge potential for offsetting the cost because we are all feeling economical impact and things like that, right? So cost is rising, so people want something to earn without being part of a delivery app or anything as a courier guy or anything or driving for somebody. I'm doing my work, I'm helping somebody. That kind of a gives like some earning potential also.
Yeah, I think in that case, it even sounds like earning might not even be the incentive behind doing it. It might just be in the future, I might have a favor done for me, then that might be more
Yeah.
beneficial of like an incentivization, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I think so far, probably if you look at the number of transactions we processed, and approximately on an average, people are paying this helper about $6.70 on an average. We got about 12,900 transaction happened, and we set the helper fee as $2, and people are paying approximately $6.70. So some are paying $15, some are paying $20. There are people who paid for $20 grocery, $20 helper fee. So I did ask his users, like, why did you pay more? Because they say, you know, this belongs to my community, so I don't mind paying. And also, I'm in control. You're not telling me how much to pay, right? So I'm paying, so I'm okay to pay. So unlike other platforms, this was a feedback.
so is this more, I guess when you say you can increase the amount of money you're giving, is that more like a tip based style or
Yeah, so we don't have a tip. We see it as a helper fee. So it's set minimum as $2. We thought it's reasonable for whatever you buy because anyway you're heading out, you're not doing for somebody as a job or something. So people usually slide, it's a slider, you can increase to up to 20. So I see most of the people giving 10 or 15 or on an average it's $6.70 is what people are paying actually today.
that makes
And
sense?
we don't want to control that. We don't want to tell people like, okay, you know what, $5
What
is
to
the
pay?
minimum. Yeah, but let people control that. Requester and helpers are okay with that, I think. Yeah.
Then curious where the revenue for a neighbor drop comes from.
So we started with zero take rate. We said no platform fee for the first few months. Then we increased to $1. So we started seeing a lot of monies flowing to the helpers. So then eventually we wanted to set it as 8 to 12%. Today it is 8 to 12. We set it as 8%, and we will grow to 12%. So we actually started monetizing people from the month of July only. So we would have earned probably around $11,000. That's what our earnings are out of $350,000
That's
GMV.
good. Yeah. Okay. And then curious how this goes into the macroeconomy that you're like we've talked about there's cost rising, gas prices are going up, drivers are not really there's like a bunch of things going on that affect supply overall. And curious what you think would break first.
I didn't get that question. Break first in the
Yeah,
sense.
like the delivery economics of it's like it's not working right now. Drivers don't like driving. There's costs going up in terms of gas, just the way car prices are going up, gas prices are going up. Most delivery like Uber is not the economics behind Uber and DoorDash is really breaking down for a lot of the parties involved. Maybe not for Uber Eats or Uber, but for the drivers, for the customers, maybe
Yeah.
for the yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of for drivers and courier guys like they don't get the money full, they take a cut. Most of this platform take a good amount of cut from their pay, and also the restaurants who is being tied up and being on the platform, they take about 30% is what I believe. This is I heard from most of the restaurants, and people driving or courier guys want to earn money, but then they're taking the cut, so they're not able to earn. So they want an alternate income. Most of the people are making this as their regular income and driving on a daily basis, right? So or doing courier work, right? So what opportunity this will give them is like you live in say Mississauga in one of the community or a building, and there are a lot of people ordering there, and you are today traveling across and picking up stuff and delivering. You be at home, walkable distance. Eventually, once NeighbourDrop grows to a big platform, you can probably live in the same building by walkable distance. You can pick up stuff and give it to them because you are anyway heading out, or you can make it as a part-time job, or you can do multiple people deliveries and still earn the money without even stepping out of house much, right? Or riding to a far distance, right? So yeah, that's where we are seeing. And also it is not just a movement, right? So tomorrow it could be time, right? So a lot of requests we are getting, people are saying, I'm a plumber. Today I travel 10 miles or 10 kilometers away from my home. Can you include my service also in your platform so I can serve my neighborhood where I can be within 1 kilometer and still serve more people, right? So, or I can do tutoring, I can do a house cleaning. Why don't you allow me to do this? So this eventually will evolve like, a mix of Uber Eats, Instacart, TaskRabbit, or anything you name it, because time, movement, everything will be involved in NeighbourDrop, right? So, and tomorrow we can all think AI start giving work to people, right? So, and there could be drones or robotic taxis and things coming up, but there's always a last mile which is required, right? Because these drones and robots cannot enter everybody's home or apartment, so unit. There's always a need of a last mile, right? So this can grow probably, few billions in the next 2 to 3 years. What we think or foresee.
Okay. And then you're also raising your pre-seed and you're raising money right now.
Yeah.
So what's been the hardest question that people have asked you?
Yeah, I think initial odd question, is it really going to work? When yeah, then when they start seeing numbers, then yeah, but we want to see more, right? So more numbers, more traction, right? But we are racing pre-seed. Come on, this is not the time to get, you know, a lot of traction, right? Enough and more traction with the bootstrap company we have shown, which is like 30,000 users, regular transactions, but I understand most of the hesitations would be probably a challenge would be right. Most of the capital is going to AI companies, whether nobody knows AI is going to do what next 2 or 5 years, but still everybody is betting on AI. So that could be a challenge when it comes to consumer platforms and business. But there are quite a bit of good believers in consumer business, and I'm still in discussion with them. And one of them already committed something, and few are still in discussion.
Then is there a question that you wish people would ask you?
Yeah, probably. How do we make it, 100x, 200x, or whatever in the next few months? Like, yeah, it's a straight question, right? So, yeah, it's very important. Somebody has to believe, right? If they believe this is going, when Uber started, nobody believed. Airbnb started, nobody believed. They had 70, 80 rejections, right? But somebody believed and said, okay, this is interesting. Let me bet on you, right? So today it's billion-dollar companies, right? So that's how every company will evolve. But the only change happened in the last, 1 or 2 years is the AI, which is taking every capital, right? So everybody wants to bet on AI, right? So even if it's a wrap or anything, talk about AI, people want to bet on that, right? So most of the capital is going there.
Yeah. And do you think the Founder University sharpened or helped you?
Yeah, yeah, it's been great. I think, yeah, Jason's team has been great, and we had an opportunity to connect with. I made a lot of friends and a lot of
Good.
good coaching and pitching in 2 minutes and a lot of sessions. It really helped a lot, right? So yeah,
Do you still talk to the cohort? How does that help you at all?
yeah, I still talk to the people I met, and yeah, it's been great. Like, we share notes and talk about fundraising and challenges. We exchange our investor list and do introductions and a lot of stuff. Like, it's a good community they're building.
And kind of a bit curious how you met your co-founders as well.
Oh, I met through my some of my common connections yeah, a few years ago during my time at Bell. I had to travel place. I met somebody for a coffee with my friend, and he introduced me to my co-founder. Another one, Aditi, I got to know through some of my other friend, like, and they were all being connected. We used to say hi, hello, but when this idea came, we started interacting more, and they all believed in the vision, and they said, okay, come on, let's build it.
Okay. And then I guess How does NeighbourDrop change if, or if everything works as you planned? How does NeighbourDrop work in the next 5 years?
So NeighbourDrop is go if everything works in pre-seed and we're able to grow city by city, cluster by cluster, and city by city, it'll evolve as a completely a new coordination layer for people to interact and get things done. This is what is going to happen in the next 5 years. So we see a few millions of users coming on board, and yeah, so people are really relying and transacting on this platform than the traditional typical platform where they spend a lot of money.
And is are your current users mostly in Toronto or?
Yeah, so my mostly transactions happening in Toronto, GTA, couple of places like we picked up few in downtown, few in Scarborough, Etobicoke, and all that. So, but I have users across Canada and some in US, but they are word of mouth and people download it, but they are not able to transact because there's not enough people around them. Like I never promoted those places like Calgary or Winnipeg. But yeah, people yes download it and want to use it, but they are still waiting when I will launch fully. So yeah, mostly it's in Toronto.
That makes sense. And I guess, how do you feel like even autonomous cars or like drones that you mentioned? How do you think that even fits into this coordination layer? If you have, let's say, robo taxis just running around on the road, do you feel like they would just end up as couriers on your app?
So people still need a last mile, I said, right? So,
Yeah.
or people, you might take a robotic taxi tomorrow to go to a Walmart or a Costco. That will not stop. Or you might still need to go to airport, or you might use robotic taxis. And if you can coordinate with me and I can come along with you, right? In the same taxi, we can split the cost, right? So, or there's a drone delivery happening in a building where it's not allowed to go into every floor and do a delivery, right? So sometimes you're not home. And today, most of the buildings, people, the courier guys come directly to your doorstep, which people are going to miss, right? It's because
Yeah.
imagine hundreds of drones entering every building and going and delivering. It's not going to happen. Maybe in future, but yeah, still there is a need of last mile, and we believe people can do that.
Yeah, and even not just last mile. I think just like the whole concept of neighbor helping neighbor,
Yeah.
or that the
And I always
community
believe
neighbors.
that people stepping out of home for anything is not going to stop, right? In the e-commerce era, people never stop to go to shopping malls and, at least window shopping, right? People want to go, right? People want to experience restaurant. People want to see everything. You can get it home today, but still, so that moment is never going to stop, right? So that's our business model, right? So that's our major business model.
Okay. And then, kind of curious, how do you view what you view like your business, what you're doing? What do you think would have to be worth it, or what do you think you would have to do for this to be worth it when you look back? Quitting the job,
Yeah,
starting
so
the studio.
So I look at NeighbourDrop evolving and it becomes like, people really don't have to, I don't have to remind people to use it and people, it becomes part of their life. Yeah, I'm stepping out. Hey Siri, I'm stepping to go to Costco. Yeah, broadcast my trip and people look for help, and this can mostly happen without much of our intervention on push notification or anything. And that will, I call it my success because came with a vision of the thesis of like in a moment as a supply. So that's going to be successful only if people can, this can automatically be part of their life, right? Without me reminding them.
Then is do you have a story of like the best neighbor helping neighbor story that you've had so far?
Yeah, I had something, maybe an edge case, right? Because somebody from one of our neighbor was going to Niagara, and they happened to be somebody in a similar community wanted something from a particular store, a candy or something from a Niagara store, which was readily available. A kid wanted from that particular store, and this gentleman happened to go to that place and pick up that stuff and get it delivered after the very next day or something, right? So that was an interesting story because you can't ask Uber Eats or anybody to do that. Nobody is going to do that, right? So today we call it
Yeah.
an edge case. Tomorrow you might be traveling to say, across the border to US Buffalo side or something, and somebody wants something particularly from that. I'm talking about legal stuff only. Somebody can ask for getting that things done from those store or particular restaurant, which is like 20, 50 kilometers away. So today, none of these platform delivers or support that, right? So this can be a good
Well,
use cases.
yeah, even when you say that, I'm thinking like when you have even this happens nowadays. Like you have family or just like family friends go to India, and now they're like, "Oh, do you
Yeah,
want me to bring something from home?" And
exactly.
that is such a standard use case. Wow.
Yeah, and people across, like in every neighborhood, people travel to Europe, people travel to Asia, many places in India, Middle East. So many people want particular stuff from those places. Like, you can broadcast and say, like, I need something. And yeah, people might say, I'm heading on this day, I can get you this stuff, right? So this can also happen, right? So,
That makes sense. How it's a coordination layer or like movement as a supply source.
yeah.
Then I guess this is the last question I have, and it's kind of the same question I ask everyone. I feel like someone who's especially started building things for a long time, and you have this weird social sociology aspect to what you're doing as well. I think there's a little bit of what you're doing is a bit more than just simply just within what's in front of you, or it feels like there's a secret goal or something that you're trying to make the world, or there's something you're trying to do. Kind of curious what the ambition is underneath everything.
Make the world a better place. That's a goal, right? And bring in more trust within our community and the community connection, bring it back. We're losing that community connection and help people save a lot of money and help each other. At the same time, earn something. And yeah, that's a goal. That's a primary goal we're looking at, right? So, yeah, this becomes a part of everyday's life, everybody's life. So, yeah, that's a goal.
That makes sense. And with that, oh, thanks so much for joining, and yeah,